Welcome back, everyone, to Echoes of Ihsan
Yes.
for another deep dive into Islamic traditions.
That's right.
And today,
Yeah.
we are going to be looking at
Okay.
the prophets as they're
Okay.
depicted in Sahih Bukhari,
Right.
book 55.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this is,
Prophets.
Adam and Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus.
Familiar names.
You might think you know these figures, but
It's,
trust me, there are layers to uncover
I think that's true.
that'll give you a whole new perspective on them.
Yeah, this book isn't just retelling those familiar stories.
Yeah.
It's really packed with insights
Right.
into their lives, their teachings, their appearances even.
Right.
That really gives us a glimpse into the human side of these chosen individuals.
Right off the bat, we encounter this hadith about Adam's stature,
Okay.
stating that Allah created him a towering 60 cubits tall.
Wow.
60 cubits. That's 10 times the height of an average person today.
Right.
Almost impossible to grasp,
It really sparks the imagination. It gets even more intriguing when you consider that the hadith also mentions that those who enter paradise will resemble Adam
Okay.
in appearance.
Okay.
So it really raises the question, are we talking just purely physical size here?
Yeah, is it a physical thing?
Or is there something more profound that's being talked about?
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards that, something more profound idea.
Yeah.
Could this be about spiritual stature?
Yeah.
The kind of like pristine nature that humans possessed, closer to the time of creation.
Yeah, that's a really insightful interpretation.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes you wonder if this mention of decreasing stature since Adam's time could be like a symbolic representation of humanity's gradual distancing from that original state of purity and closeness to the divine.
So if we consider this decrease in stature as a metaphor, then what could it mean for us today?
Yeah.
Are we shrinking?
Yeah. Spiritually, morally, intellectually even.
I mean, that's a fascinating question to ponder.
Right.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It invites us to really reflect on our own lives, our choices, and how they might be impacting our spiritual growth.
Yeah.
Are we striving to reach our full potential, or are we letting ourselves be diminished by the distractions and temptations of this world?
Heavy stuff.
Right.
And it gets even more thought-provoking.
Okay.
When we jump into these hadiths explaining why children resemble their parents, the prophet links it to who? Well, discharges first during intercourse.
Okay.
And this actually was, this explanation was given to a man named Abdullah bin Salam, who came to the prophet with these three very challenging questions.
Right.
One of which was this question of why a child resembles its maternal uncle, not just its parents. So it's fascinating that that was a question.
Even back then.
People were talking about genetics and inherited traits.
Yeah, so the Prophet's response to this hadith about the first discharge seems straightforward enough, but how did he address Abdullah bin Salam's question about the maternal uncle?
That's a good question.
It doesn't seem to be directly addressed in these hadiths.
It's true.
Yeah.
It seems like the focus of that particular hadith was on that primary resemblance to the parents. However, what's important to remember is that these hadiths really stimulated intellectual curiosity and debate.
Right.
They weren't meant to be accepted blindly.
Right. It's showing that questioning and seeking deeper understanding were encouraged, even in matters of faith.
Absolutely.
And speaking of thought-provoking, let's unpack this hadith where the Prophet says that meat wouldn't decay except for the Israelites. And wives wouldn't betray their husbands. Except for Eve. I highly doubt this was meant to be taken literally.
Exactly. I think taking those statements at face value would totally miss the profound metaphorical meaning that they carry.
So it's more likely that he was highlighting the consequences of certain actions. Like, for example, linking the Israelites, who were known for questioning and sometimes disobedience of God's laws. Linking that to decay could be a sort of spiritual or moral decline.
Yeah, exactly.
So instead of making sweeping generalizations about entire groups of people, it's really about understanding the impact of choices.
Yeah.
And the potential consequences
Absolutely.
of straying from righteousness.
Yeah, I think that's precisely it. It invites the listener to really ponder that deeper meaning behind these statements. So, for example, connecting Eve's act of disobeying God in the Garden of Eden with this concept of betrayal encourages us to think about the ripple effects of our actions. You know, how do our choices impact our relationships, our communities, and ultimately our relationship with the divine?
It really makes you reflect on your own life, doesn't it?
It does.
So let's dive into some really weighty topics.
All right.
Creation, destiny, and the debate of free will versus predestination. These hadiths provide a fascinating window into how these concepts were understood. We get this incredibly detailed description of the stages of creation in the womb. The drop of fluid, the clot, the lump of flesh, and then the angel enters to write the 4 decrees that will shape a person's life.
And those 4 decrees being their deeds, their lifespan, their sustenance, and ultimately whether they will be destined for paradise or for the fire.
You, just a tiny being forming in the womb, and already your life's path is being laid out.
Powerful image.
It really is.
Right.
Are we just puppets? In the grand scheme of things, our fate's sealed before we even take our first breath.
That's where the concept of free will comes in. The hadith goes on to say that a person's deeds can actually alter their ultimate fate. So while predestination exists, it's not this rigid, unchangeable decree. Our choices matter. They have the power to shift our trajectory, to move us closer to paradise or further toward the fire.
Phew. That's a bit of a relief. That means we have agency, that our actions have real consequences.
Oh, absolutely.
But how do we reconcile the idea of a preordained path with this freedom to choose?
It's a really complex interplay, and there are different interpretations within Islamic thought about this. But what's really crucial is that this concept underscores the importance of striving for righteousness throughout our lives.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about constantly striving. Constantly making choices that align with our values and God's will.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of accountability, there's a chilling hadith that links the burden of every unjust murder back to Adam.
Oh, wow.
The first to commit such an act.
Okay.
So does that mean we inherit the guilt of our ancestors?
Yeah.
Like some sort of original sin?
I mean, it's a complex concept.
Right.
There are different interpretations about this.
Yeah.
Some scholars view it as acknowledging the weight of precedent, you know, how one act can have these ripple effects throughout history.
Right.
Others might interpret it as a reminder of the inherent potential for darkness within humanity.
Either way, it adds another layer to the story of Adam and Eve and makes you think about the lasting impact of our choices, both individually and collectively.
It also underscores the critical need for justice, both in this world and the next, you know.
So from the grand scale of creation and destiny, we shift to a very specific warning. The hadiths about the Dajjal. The Antichrist. Every prophet, we're told, warned their people about him. But what's fascinating is the level of detail given about his appearance and nature.
He's described as being one-eyed, which is a really significant detail considering the emphasis on Allah not being one-eyed. He's also said to bring with him a false paradise and a false hell.
Oh, wow.
Tempting people with illusions and really testing their ability to discern truth from falsehood.
That sounds like the ultimate test of faith.
Absolutely.
Being able to see through deception and hold on to your beliefs, even when faced with these seemingly irresistible temptations.
And these hadiths really underscore the importance of developing a strong foundation of faith and knowledge.
Right. Here's a question. If all the prophets warned about the Dajjal, how did those warnings get lost? Or forgotten?
That's a great question.
Over time.
Yeah, it really speaks to the challenges of preserving knowledge across generations. Perhaps the warnings were heated in their time, but as the threat seemed distant, the knowledge faded. Okay. Or maybe the information was distorted or misinterpreted along the way.
Right. And it also highlights the importance of continuously seeking knowledge.
Absolutely.
Of revisiting our traditions and scriptures to make sure we're not missing crucial lessons.
Right. And it speaks to the importance of critical thinking, being able to discern authentic teachings from those that might have been altered or influenced
by human interpretations.
Now,
in a fascinating twist, we have a hadith where the Prophet Muhammad states that he and his followers will be witnesses for Noah on the Day of Judgment.
Oh, wow.
So what's the context here?
So it connects back to the story of Noah's people denying his message and Allah asking for witnesses to attest to the truth.
Right.
And so this hadith, along with a Quranic verse about Muslims being a just nation witnessing over mankind, really suggests this profound connection across time and prophets.
Like a cosmic courtroom where prophets and their followers are being called upon to testify about the messages they received and spread.
And I think it emphasizes the shared mission of conveying God's message, a mission that unites believers across generations and reaffirms the importance of upholding truth and justice.
It's a reminder that we're part of something much bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely.
Like a lineage of believers striving to live in accordance with God's will.
Exactly.
Then we get this incredibly vivid and detailed hadith about the Day of Judgment. Imagine it. You standing among a multitude of souls, the sun bearing down, a palpable sense of desperation in the air.
Wow.
People are desperately seeking intercession, first from Adam, then Noah, and finally from Prophet Muhammad.
Right.
The imagery is so powerful.
It is.
The sheer scale of the gathering, the weight of the moment.
Yeah.
This feeling that everything hinges on the acceptance of Prophet Muhammad's intercession.
And what's particularly striking to me is the humility displayed by Adam and Noah. Even though they are prophets themselves, they acknowledge their own limitations, and they direct people toward Muhammad, emphasizing his unique status.
It's a profound testament to the exalted position of Prophet Muhammad in Islam.
Absolutely.
But it also underscores this idea that even the most righteous individuals will feel a sense of accountability on that day, recognizing their reliance on God's grace.
It's a humbling reminder for all of us, no matter how devout we may be, that ultimately our salvation lies in God's mercy.
Now, from this grand spectacle of the Day of Judgment, we shift to a more specific story. The account of the man who dared to cut the legs of Prophet Salih's she-camel. And his transgression is compared to that of Abu Zama, a figure known for his honor and power. But even someone with such a reputation could fall from grace.
Right. A sobering thought. A reminder that anyone, regardless of their social standing or perceived righteousness, is capable of
choosing disobedience. And it reinforces the idea that our actions have consequences both in this world and the next.
Absolutely. We're all accountable for our choices.
So we've got this act of transgression, and then we transition into this introduction of Dhul Qarnayn, this powerful ruler mentioned in the Quran.
Yes.
And it's interesting how these different threads are woven together.
It's like
connecting stories and figures.
It's like piecing together a puzzle with each hadith offering another clue to this grand narrative of humanity's relationship with God.
Tell me more about Dhul Qarnayn. What makes him so intriguing?
So Dhul Qarnayn, meaning the two-horned one, was this really righteous and powerful ruler. He's described as traveling far and wide, encountering all these different people and situations, and ultimately building a massive wall to hold back the forces of Gog and Magog.
Gog and Magog. Those names always evoke
They do.
Like this sense of mystery, impending doom.
Yeah, like this chaotic force that threatens to engulf the world.
Right.
Exactly.
And Dhul Qarnayn's role in containing them highlights the importance of leadership.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like those in positions of power using their influence to protect the world from harm.
Absolutely.
Makes me think about the responsibility we all have in our own ways to contribute to the well-being of humanity and resist those forces that seek to disrupt peace and justice.
And speaking of resisting harmful influences, we come to these hadiths forbidding Muslims from entering the dwellings of the people of Thamud without weeping, lest they suffer the same fate.
The people of Thamud who defy the prophet Salih.
Right.
And were ultimately punished for their disobedience. So is this about feeling sorrow for their fate?
I think it's a combination of both. The instruction to weep really suggests this empathy for their plight, you know, a recognition of the tragedy of their downfall.
Right.
But it also serves as a stark warning.
Right.
By remembering the fate of those who disobeyed, we're reminded to take heed of God's messengers and to avoid following that path that leads to destruction.
It's like visiting a historical site.
Yeah.
Feeling the weight of the past and being reminded of the lessons we can learn from those who came before us. It seems we've covered a lot of ground already.
Yeah, we have.
But there's so much more. So much more to explore. The world of prophets in Sahih Bukhari is truly vast.
It is.
And fascinating.
We've only just begun to scratch the surface.
Yeah.
I mean, there are still the fascinating stories of Abraham.
Right.
His life, his trials, his unwavering faith.
Right.
And then there are accounts of other prophets, Job, Solomon, David, each with their own unique lessons and insights to offer.
I can't wait to dive into those stories.
Yeah.
There's so much to uncover, so much to learn from these extraordinary individuals who were chosen to guide humanity towards the divine.
Absolutely. And what's really captivating about these prophets is they weren't flawless beings, you know?
Right.
They faced challenges and doubts and even made mistakes.
Right.
And it reminds us that even those chosen by God were still human.
Right.
Subject to the same struggles and temptations.
Yeah, like Abraham.
Yeah.
We often think of him as this towering figure of faith.
Right.
But these hadiths paint a much more nuanced picture. We learn that he was a tall man.
Okay.
Practicing circumcision even at the age of 80.
Okay.
But then we encounter these accounts of the 3 lies he told.
And it's important to remember the context here.
Okay.
These weren't lies told for personal gain.
Right.
Or to deceive for selfish reasons.
Yeah.
These were acts of desperation, attempts to protect himself and his wife, Sarah, from this tyrant who was infatuated with her beauty.
Okay, so in one instance, he claims Sarah is his sister.
Right.
Fearing that the tyrant would kill him to take her as his own. And then there's that lie told to protect the sanctity of idols that he was supposed to be guarding, shifting the blame for their destruction onto the biggest idol itself.
These stories might seem difficult to reconcile with our modern understanding of honesty.
Right.
But they offer a glimpse into the impossible choices that people faced in those times. Right. And they challenge us to think about the limits of moral absolutism and the weight of survival.
It's a reminder that even prophets, with their unwavering faith, were forced to make these difficult decisions in the face of danger.
It makes them more relatable, more human.
Yeah.
Exactly. They weren't these superhuman figures detached from earthly concerns. They felt fear and uncertainty and the need to protect those they loved.
And it's not just about external threats. There's a hadith where Abraham expresses doubt when asking God to show him how he revives the dead.
Right.
This is a moment of vulnerability where he acknowledges his need for reassurance.
This is such a profoundly human moment.
Yeah.
It shows that even a prophet renowned for his unwavering faith experienced these moments of questioning, doubt.
Right.
It seems is an inherent part of the human experience, even for those deeply connected to the divine.
It makes me feel less alone.
Yeah.
In my own moments of doubt and uncertainty.
I think so.
To know that
Yeah.
Even the greats wrestled with these questions.
Absolutely.
Makes it seem less like a weakness and more like a natural part of the spiritual journey.
Absolutely. It encourages us to approach faith with both sincerity and a healthy dose of intellectual curiosity.
Right.
Questioning can lead to a deeper understanding, a more profound connection with the divine.
This next hadith seems a bit random.
Okay.
The Prophet Muhammad tells his companions to pick black fruits from the arak trees.
Okay.
Because they're the best.
Right.
What's so significant about that?
On the surface, it seems like a simple piece of advice.
Yeah.
But it leads to this really fascinating exchange where the companions ask the prophet if he was a shepherd. And his response, "There was no prophet who was not a shepherd."
Interesting.
Really reveals this remarkable connection between the prophetic tradition and this humble act of shepherding.
So what's the link?
Right.
Is it symbolic or is there a practical aspect to this?
I think it's both.
Okay.
Practically speaking, shepherding requires a lot of patience, observation, a deep care for living beings, qualities that are essential for a prophet guiding a community.
Okay.
But symbolically, the shepherd guides and protects their flock, much like a prophet guides and protects their people.
It adds another layer to those stories, knowing that many prophets had this experience of caring for a flock.
Right.
It grounds them, shows that they weren't born into these positions of power, but developed skills and qualities through these humble beginnings.
And it highlights the connection between humanity and nature.
Right.
A connection that's often lost in our modern world.
Right.
You know, the prophets, by tending to flocks, were intimately connected to the rhythms of the natural world.
Right.
A world that reflects the divine order.
Now, we can't forget about these fascinating stories of other prophets mentioned in Book 55.
Right.
Job, for instance, is known for his incredible patience and the blessings he received after enduring such immense suffering.
And there's this vivid image of a swarm of gold locusts falling on him as he bathed. God asks him if he hasn't made him rich enough to need what he sees.
Right.
And Job replies, "Yes, O Lord, but I cannot dispense with your blessing."
It's a beautiful testament to Job's unwavering faith.
Right.
That even material wealth is ultimately a gift from God.
Yeah, and his gratitude really shines through.
Even in the face of extraordinary abundance.
Extraordinary abundance.
So we have Solomon, renowned for his wisdom and dominion over the jinn.
Right.
There's this rather amusing hadith where he boasts that he'll sleep with 70 ladies, each of whom will conceive a child who will be a knight fighting for Allah's cause. But because he doesn't add, if Allah wills, his plan backfires. And only one woman gives birth to a half-child.
That's a lesson in humility.
It really is.
Right.
Even a king as powerful as Solomon was subject to God's will.
Absolutely.
Reminds us that we should never take our plans or abilities for granted.
It really underscores the importance of recognizing that true power lies in submission to the divine will.
Right.
Even the most ambitious endeavors are ultimately contingent upon God's decree.
And speaking of Solomon's wives, there's also a hadith about a test of faith he conducts. He disguises himself and asks each of his wives, what is the best thing for a woman? Most of them give answers focused on worldly pleasures or possessions. But one wife answers, obedience to her husband.
It's a subtle but powerful message about the qualities that truly matter. Prioritizing faith and righteousness over fleeting desires. It also highlights the importance of a righteous spouse. A partner who shares your values and supports your spiritual journey.
Then we have David, known for his beautiful psalms.
The Zabur.
And his just rule. He was said to be able to recite the entire Zabur before his riding animals were even saddled.
Wow.
He also insisted on eating only from the earnings of his manual labor.
It's really inspiring to see these prophets excelling in different areas. Wisdom, justice, devotion. physical prowess.
Yes.
Even they were well-rounded individuals,
Right.
each with their own unique strengths and contributions to humanity.
And yet, despite their greatness, they're always portrayed as being subservient to God.
Right.
Acknowledging that their abilities and accomplishments are ultimately gifts from the divine.
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
It emphasizes that true success lies in aligning oneself with God's will.
Right.
No matter how accomplished we become, humility and gratitude
should remain at the forefront.
Should remain at the forefront.
Speaking of David, there's a hadith that describes his impressive fasting and prayer routine.
Okay.
He would fast every other day and sleep for half the night.
Okay.
Pray for a third of it, and then sleep for the remaining sixth.
It's a remarkable display of devotion and discipline.
Right.
But it's important to note that the Prophet Muhammad later clarified that this level of fasting is not obligatory for all Muslims.
Yeah. Okay.
It's presented more as an example of David's piety and the different ways individuals can express their devotion.
So it's not about trying to replicate someone else's practice. It's about finding a balance that suits our individual capacities and circumstances.
Absolutely.
We can honor the spirit of devotion without pushing ourselves beyond our limits.
And if we connect this back to the earlier hadiths about predestination and free will, it suggests that even our capacity for worship is a gift from God.
Okay.
We're called to strive.
Yeah.
But we're not expected to be superhuman. God's mercy encompasses our limitations.
That's a comforting thought.
It is.
Allows us to approach our faith with a sense of gratitude and to do our best without feeling overwhelmed by unattainable standards.
Now, this next hadith takes a turn for the supernatural.
Right.
We're told about a jinn attempting to disrupt the Prophet Muhammad's prayer.
Hold on, a jinn messing with the Prophet's prayer?
Yeah.
That's pretty bold. What happened?
Just as the Prophet is about to restrain the jinn, he remembers the invocation of Solomon. And grant me a kingdom such as shall not belong to any other after me. And this prompts him to release the jinn instead.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Why would Solomon's invocation make the Prophet change his mind?
I think it's about recognizing the potential for pride and the importance of choosing mercy. The Prophet could have easily displayed his power over the jinn, but instead he chooses compassion, remembering that true power lies in humility and aligning oneself with God's will.
It's a powerful lesson.
It is.
In restraint and forgiveness, choosing compassion even when dealing with these beings from the unseen realm.
And speaking of the unseen, there's this fascinating hadith about the Prophet having a dream where he sees both Jesus and the Dajjal circumambulating the Kaaba.
Talk about a dream team. What do they look like in this dream?
So Jesus is described as having brown skin, long, lank hair, and water dripping from his head. And he's walking between two men, placing his hands on their shoulders.
That's a vivid image.
Right.
What about the Dajjal?
So he's described as having very curly hair. And being blind in the right eye. And resembling a man named Ibn Qatan. An infidel who had died in the pre-Islamic period. Interestingly, he's also shown walking between two men. Placing his hands on their shoulders, just like Jesus.
They're both described in a similar way, walking between two men. Is there any significance to that?
It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
But it could be a way of highlighting the duality of good and evil, you know? This constant interplay between these forces in the world. Both figures are present. Both seemingly engaged in an act of piety. Yet their true natures are vastly different.
It's like a visual representation of the choices we face in life. To follow the path of righteousness embodied by Jesus, or to be swayed by deception and falsehood represented by the Dajjal.
And the fact that this dream occurred while the Prophet was sleeping near the Kaaba, the holiest site in Islam, really suggests this deeper spiritual meaning. It's almost as if the dream is a divine message.
Right.
This cosmic drama unfolding at the heart of faith.
It definitely adds another layer to the stories. Makes you wonder about these deeper meanings behind these prophetic encounters.
So we've got this dream with Jesus on the Dajjal.
Right.
And then we have several hadiths emphasizing Prophet Muhammad's closeness to Jesus, both in this world and the hereafter.
Okay.
It's like these hadiths are weaving a tapestry of Islamic belief, showing how different concepts connect.
Yeah, it's like they're all part of the same family.
Yeah.
These prophets working towards a common goal.
Exactly.
Even across different times and places.
The Prophet Muhammad's statement that all the prophets are paternal brothers reinforces that idea of a shared lineage.
The messengers.
Of messengers.
United by their mission to convey God's message.
Exactly.
And this connection between Jesus and Prophet Muhammad is further emphasized when the prophet states that there was no prophet between him and Jesus.
Right.
It highlights the closeness of their missions and suggests this unique spiritual kinship.
It's fascinating how these hadiths acknowledge the shared lineage and mission of all prophets while still emphasizing the unique role
of Prophet Muhammad.
Of Prophet Muhammad.
As the final messenger.
It's the final messenger.
It's a delicate balance.
It is. The hadiths affirm the validity
of previous prophets.
Of previous prophets and their messages while highlighting the culmination of that prophetic line with Prophet Muhammad.
Then there's this hadith where Jesus encounters a man stealing. And asks him directly, did you steal? The man denies it. Swearing by Allah.
Right.
But Jesus says, I believe in Allah and suspect my eyes.
Wow.
What's the message here?
It's a powerful lesson in humility.
Yeah.
Even for someone like Jesus.
Right.
It tells us that we should trust in God's word, even over our own perceptions. Even though Jesus witnessed the act of stealing, he chose to believe the man's oath, acknowledging that his own senses
could be mistaken. It makes you think about how quick we are to judge.
To judge based on appearances.
Based on appearances.
And this hadith reminds us to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
To consider that there might be more to the story than meets the eye.
It also emphasizes the importance of seeking truth and justice through fair and impartial means. Not just relying on our limited human perspective. Then we have a hadith where the Prophet Muhammad tells his followers not to exaggerate in praising him, as the Christians praised the Son of Mary. He reminds them that he is only a slave of Allah, not a divine being.
This is a crucial point.
Yeah.
It reinforces the Islamic belief in the oneness of God and the rejection of any form of idolatry or associating partners with God.
The Prophet Muhammad, despite his exalted status, was still a human being. A servant of God.
A servant of God.
Just like all the prophets before him.
It sets a clear boundary, reminding us that reverence and respect should never cross the line into worship.
Only God is worthy of worship.
Only God is worthy of worship.
It highlights the danger of elevating any individual, even a prophet, to a divine status. Next, we have a hadith about the rewards for those who believe in Jesus and then believe in Muhammad, emphasizing that they will receive a double reward.
I think this hadith is beautiful because it acknowledges the validity of belief in Jesus as a prophet of God while still emphasizing the importance of accepting Muhammad
as the final messenger. It's not an either-or situation, but rather a continuation.
It's a continuation
of the prophetic tradition.
Prophetic.
It speaks to the inclusivity of Islam.
Absolutely.
Recognizing the shared truths across different faiths while still upholding the distinct teachings
of Islam.
Right.
It shows that the path to God is not limited
to a single tradition. But encompasses the spectrum of beliefs. United by this common thread of faith and submission to the divine.
Exactly.
Then we have these hadiths that bring us back to the day of judgment. With those vivid descriptions of the resurrection and the gathering of all humanity.
And the Prophet Muhammad
describes being resurrected and seeing Abraham already clothed, he then sees some of his own companions being led away. And he asks why.
It's a poignant moment.
Yeah.
A reminder that even those who were close to the prophet in this life might not be guaranteed paradise.
It underscores this idea that our final destination is determined by God's judgment.
Yeah.
And that even seemingly devout individuals can stray from the path.
It's a reminder to stay vigilant in our faith, to constantly strive for righteousness, knowing that our actions have consequences.
Both in this world.
Both in this world and the next.
In the next.
Our deeds and intentions matter.
Yeah.
It's not enough to simply profess belief.
Right.
We must live in accordance with that belief, striving to embody the values
of our faith.
And
finally, we have this incredibly captivating hadith about the descent of Jesus, the son of Mary, who will return to earth and rule justly, according to the Quran. He'll break the cross, kill the pigs, and abolish the jizya, the tax taken from non-Muslims.
It's a powerful image.
It really is.
Of a world united under just rule.
Yeah.
Free from oppression.
And religious division.
This
hadith speaks to the Islamic belief in the ultimate triumph of good over evil. The establishment of God's will on earth.
It's a message of hope.
Yeah.
A promise that justice and peace will ultimately prevail.
It's incredible how these hadiths, while focusing on the stories of these individual prophets, weave together so many different aspects of Islamic belief.
We've explored the oneness of God.
The importance of faith and righteous action.
The day of judgment. The finality of Prophet Muhammad's message.
And this hope.
For
a just and equitable future.
It's a tapestry of prophetic wisdom.
It really is.
Guidance, inspiration, insight into humanity's relationship.
With the divine. What stood out to you most from all these stories?
I think what resonates with me most deeply is this reminder that prophets, despite their exalted status, were still human beings. They faced trials, doubts, temptations. They made mistakes.
But through it all,
their
unwavering faith and submission to God's will shone through, serving as this beacon for all of humanity.
That's a beautiful reflection.
Yeah.
Their stories remind us that perfection is not the goal. It's about striving for righteousness, seeking God's guidance, learning from the examples
of those who came before us.
It's
an ongoing journey.
It is.
Of growth and transformation.
It's a path.
A path that leads us closer to the divine. What a powerful way to wrap up our deep dive into Sahih Bukhari, Book 55.
Absolutely.
I encourage all of you listening to seek out the full text and explore these stories further.
There's a wealth of knowledge and wisdom
to be gained from these prophetic accounts. And until next time.
Yes.
Keep
questioning.
And
keep diving deep.
into the world of knowledge and faith.
Absolutely.